Hi, everyone. So we're going to get started with our presentation on how to better facilitate team collaboration with open spaces technology. This is actually the second time we've run this webinar. The first time we had some really interesting audio issues that we've hopefully corrected this time, so decided to just do it again. So my name is Aaron Alsop. I'll be hosting this webinar, and I'm from Business Model Edge. First, I just want to talk a little bit about Business Model Edge. Our mission is to partner with you and innovate the future one business model at a time. Really, our core passion is around three main pillars. First, ideation, so helping teams facilitate the idea generation and getting buy-in. So that's really where Open Spaces plays a role. The business model canvas is the second pillar in the middle, where we really help teams develop new business models, pivot, prototype, and then come up with a solid business model. Then finally, we can help teams build business cases that executives, CFOs, or venture capitalist type firms can understand. So it's that real end-to-end innovation process that we really want to partner with you with. I also want to introduce myself. My name is Aaron Alsop. I have over 15 years of experience in the technology industry. I really have a passion for innovation, strategy, and business model development. It's been a core focus of my study and everything I've done with my career for the past about 4 years, I'd say. I just love to partner with teams and to innovate the future. So I'm always up to having a creative conversation about new technologies or just new business ideas or disrupting markets. And open spaces technology is definitely one of those things I'm very passionate about. So let's dive in. Let's talk more about open spaces. That's why you guys are here and what you want to hear about. So first off, open spaces came from a person by the name of Harrison Owen. And Harrison Owen went to a lot of conferences, like many of us do. So we attend a lot of conferences where we hear about a guest speaker or a TEDx type conference. We go to educational type conferences, all types of conferences you can think of. And the one observation that he made was the most productive conversations and the most engaged conversations seem to happen on the coffee breaks more than they did actually in the conference themselves. And his thought was, imagine if you could harness all of that activity and all of that conversation in the entire session. That was the point of the conference. So that really started him on this journey of trying to find a better way to run conferences to be more highly productive. And what he created was open spaces technology. Now, open space technology is an interesting process, and it's one that I can say from experience. When I learned about it, I kind of was a little bit skeptical. Like, this seems a little odd. What's the plan, and what am I going to get out of it? Who's talking? And none of that's really clear. It just said, be prepared to be excited and surprised about what happened. So I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a try, and I was. And this is honestly the most effective conference type experience I've been in. And it's just awesome for ideation. So that's why I've just become so passionate about it. So let's just talk more about what it actually is so it makes a little bit more sense. So the very first thing that happens in open spaces technology after you've been getting this emails of, this is what we're going to talk about, this is what you're going to be prepared to be excited, and this is where it is you show up to a room, so usually a fairly large room, depending on the size of the group that's going to be there, and there's a circle of chairs. In the middle of the circle of chairs is paper and pens. And right then and there, you realize this is different. Now, the circle really came for a few reasons, and I'm going to dive into them. But first, what you do is you come in and you sit in the circle. And there's always a facilitator that's there. And the facilitator's role is to guide people through the process and really control the space throughout. So that would be the role that, say, I would play if I was helping an organization, or a facilitator of open spaces would play within an organization doing more of an entrepreneurship type model. So let's talk about why a circle. So the reason why a circle was developed is everyone is equal. It actually came from a lot of his research in Native American practices of how they would do group settings when they wanted to do things within the village to discuss. So everyone would sit in a circle and everyone had a voice. So that's really one of the psychologies that he brought into open spaces. So everyone's seen as an equal. A feeling that everyone can talk and be heard, and commitment from the action of standing in the center. And what I mean by that is how it works is the facilitator will mention, this is what we're going to do. This is our main theme. We're all sitting in a circle, and what you need to do is think about a topic with the related theme that you want to talk about. Come up to the center of the circle, introduce yourself if the team's not aware of everybody there, say what you want to talk about, write down what you want to talk about, and then put it on the agenda. The actual getting up and standing up and going to the center and writing that down is already a commitment. You've made a commitment not just to yourself, but to the group that this is something that you want to talk about. And you're committed to this idea. So you write that down. So that helps out right away. The other thing is that a lot of times in conferences that are standard boardrooms, only certain people, depending on where you're sitting, can be heard. Or you'll get this 90-10 where 90% of the people aren't really doing anything, but 10% of people do all the talking. So in a circle, that's removed. And this can be a challenge. So, if you're a type of manager or leader that likes to control everything that's happening, this will be out of your comfort zone. But the one thing that's great about this is awesome for extroverts and introverts to all be equal. And it does give everybody that sense that your contribution is just equally weighted. And it allows you to see everybody eye to eye. So the circle is just a great way to do the meeting in general. So everybody gets up, they come up with an idea, they write it down, and they put it on the agenda. So the thing that's really interesting about open spaces is that there's no agenda to start with. The team that attends actually sets that agenda. So that's the very first thing that gets done. And what you have is an agenda wall. So the agenda wall is broken into breakout areas and time. Now the time, we're going to talk about a little bit more later, but basically it's blank to start. The breakout areas are predefined. So you may have, in this example, tents, you may have rooms, you may just have chairs in areas, you may have anything. There's no real rule to it. But people come up there and it's literally first come, first serve. What you'll find is that there's always that person that gets up first, right? And there's always other people that just don't want to. So it's kind of a slow trickle. You'll get a few people that come up in the first few minutes, but all of a sudden it's like a bit of a torrent. So people that are maybe more introverted but have something they really want to talk about, when they see the board starting to get filled up, they're going to get right up there and say what they want to talk about because they want to make sure that they get to talk about it. So filling an agenda usually is never a problem. You will definitely fill the agenda. Now, depending on how big of a group you've got or how big of a topic it may be, you might do this over 1, 2, or 3 days, depends. So if you're going to do it over multiple days, you would just have an agenda wall for each day that you could fill up. But you'll also notice here that there's time for breaks, and there's other things that play a role as well, which we'll get into a little bit more. But yeah, so that's the process that you go through. Now, in really large groups, you might need to have more facilitators, which are coming up with common themes. So, one person might want to talk about, well, we need to find a product sales channel, and somebody else talks about, well, we need to find a marketing channel. Those might be so related that we could put those together into one topic, so that we have more space on the board to come up with unique topics. But in most cases, this is the process that you would go through, and the team can self-organize the whole agenda wall. So the next thing that happens from there is the actual discussions. So the breakouts. So this is where the discussions begin. And here you can actually see something interesting. If you look on the top right, there's actually a situation where they have concentric circles. So when you have really large groups and they won't fit in one circle, you do a second row around, so a concentric circle, until you got everybody filled out. So with very large groups in small areas, or even if you have a large area with a large group, you might have to do concentric circles. So you have the breakout areas. So there's 5 guiding principles I want to talk about in the breakout areas. But before I get to those, I just want to talk about usually what you'll have there. So usually what you'll have there is, I'll usually put a whiteboard, so the paper type that you can actually take notes on. And the person that came up with the idea is responsible for capturing and documenting the notes of what happens. There's no real structure for what the notes need to look like, but something needs to be documented. You'll have people that take their own individual notes, but there needs to be one person that is taking the notes. The breakout session should be the same sort of free-flowing type of idea. You can do a circle concept as well. A lot of people do that. You can do whatever you want in terms of how it works, but everybody is just an equal and discussing the topic that they have a shared passion for. So I want to just talk about some guiding principles. So there's 5 guiding principles, and they are: whoever comes is the right people. And this applies not only to the breakout sessions, but the entire conference itself. So there's never, oh, Jane from accounting isn't here, so therefore we can't talk about any of this. Let's just all go home. It doesn't work that way. Everyone was made aware of it. If they could make the time, it was important, or they're passionate about the theme that we're talking about, then they're the right people to have in the room, and that's it. So that's one big thing about it. So whoever's there is the one who's there, and that's the right ones that you need to be there. Whenever it starts is the right time. So one thing I want to say about this is that if you remember in the agenda, there's times for the breakouts. Those times are set so everyone has an opportunity to use that breakout area to talk about their subject. But when they choose to start talking about that subject, that's up to the group that's broken out. So whenever it starts, that's the right time for it to start. Wherever it is the right place. So there's going to be areas that you set up for breakouts, but they may not want to go there. They may want to go down the hall. They may want to go to Starbucks. They may want to go sit in the grass. It doesn't matter. They can go wherever they want. You've set breakout areas so they have the materials they need, but it's up to their choosing. So feel free to do what you want. Whatever happens is the only thing that could be prepared to be surprised. So remember I was telling you about that's one thing that you'll usually get out in advance. What's meant by that is that it's quite interesting. Harrison Owen talks about a lot of case examples. He's done this in conflict resolutions in the Middle East. He's done these with towns. He's done, lots of different types of applications open spaces has been used for. And there's been some very interesting things that have occurred. And that's because, a lot of passions come up. A lot of people think a lot of different things. They'll go through a lot of emotional states sometimes. So, whatever happens. If people want to start drawing, they want to start, whatever it is, just let it go. And you will be surprised. You'll be surprised about the people who don't talk much, how much they do talk and share their ideas. You'll be surprised about the creativity, the subject matter, but it will be okay. It's just let it go. It'll work itself out. And when it's over, it's over. So sorry, there's a clerical error there, but when it's over, it's over. And what that means is, let's say you've done an hour for each of the breakout sessions. If the team has finished everything they want to talk about in 30 minutes, then wrap it up. Like that team can now disband and go share their knowledge and skills with other groups that are still talking. You don't have to fill the hour because that's the hour you have. I find that's the case with a lot of meetings. People will be booked for an hour meeting and feel it's necessary to fill that hour with a lack of value. That's just not the case with this. If it's it, that's it. If you want to actually talk about another subject while you're there, go for it. But whenever it's over, it's over. There's one more thing I want to talk about that's even what makes this such a cool concept is the law of 2 feet. So the law of 2 feet goes like this. If at any time during our time together you find yourself in any situation where you are neither learning nor contributing, use your 2 feet to go someplace else. And this is the most powerful thing. So how it works is, let's say you go to a breakout session, you're there, you add a few bits and bobs of information, and then after that, you're not really feeling like you're getting much value and you've kind of not contributing anymore, the conversation's going a different direction, then you can get up and go somewhere else. Or you can go get a glass of water, whatever you want. You can get up and go somewhere else and try to contribute value or gain value from a different location. And this kind of goes counterculture. Like if you showed up to a meeting in your office and you were sitting there and somebody was going on about something and you were like, I'm totally bored by this. I have no interest in hearing about this. And you got up and walked out, people would think you were the rudest person in the room. So the peer pressure of that social situation keeps you there, and you get no value and give no value. So that's not what we want to have happen here. And what you'll find is that social dynamic will play a role in the beginning, but there are always going to be people who love this. They're going to get up and walk away. And as soon as the first few people start doing that, the room comes alive. People are moving around, they're shuffling. And there's one thing that they talk about sometimes, which is butterflies and bees, and it comes to pollination. So they say that there's always those people that are buzzing around like bees, or the social butterflies that just want to go around the room. And what happens is you get collisions of people chatting about things as they meet each other, going between different groups, or as they go to a different group, they pollinate that group with new ideas, and then they get up and they pollinate with another idea. So it actually helps with the creativity, and it's a very empowering experience. So people who want to express themselves and move around more, this is a very good opportunity for them, and it works just awesome. So this is a great law to have. Next is, I talked about this before, is recording is really key. So what you want to end up with at the end of this session is you want to end up something concrete. You don't just want to come up with ideas and collaborate. Like, there is actually that point where you have to come up with ideas. And this is really the key part of it. So basically imagine this. Imagine that each of the sessions is an hour, but you have 45 minutes. So you have 45 minutes to talk about whatever you want to talk about and go through whatever you're going to go through on each of the ideas. But the last 15 minutes, the team lead, or maybe the team lead and an assistant, documents everything into, say, a template or a certain type of a sheet that everybody has. Some conferences, what they do is actually have computer terminals. So what you do is you go down and you actually document everything in a template in a computer terminal. So if you were running this over multiple days and you had, say, 5, 6 breakout areas and you had one in every hour block, that's a lot of ideas you're capturing all at once. So you really want to make sure you don't lose any of those. And there is some importance to why you're capturing them. But you would have them all in templates. So just reflect for a second before I move on. You've had a self-organizing team set their own agenda of major topics that are important to the people who have shown up. You've had multiple different breakout sessions happening all at once, and you've had people contributing heavily to each one individually or moving around to lots and contributing to lots of different areas. You have each one of those documented, what was discussed, what was the area, as far as that conversation went and the major points that they want to be talked about. So that's already happened. In some cases, if you're going to do this in one day, it's already happened by lunch. That's even more of a higher effective conference already, but we're not done yet. The next thing is review. So what we'll do is, say it's the second half of the day in the beginning, like after lunch, or if it's in day 2 after lunch, or in the late morning, wherever it kind of plays out, depending again on the size, the complexity, you're gonna have a review period. Basically what this is a dotmocracy type idea. So let's say, for example, each person's got 5 dots. They walk around the room and they look at everything that was discussed, and they can place a dot on the ones they think are the most important. Now, why this is important is, imagine I was a guy that I went to different areas and I just focused on that one conversation because that's the way I am. I didn't move around the room. I just wanted to talk about one thing. So I only may have gone to 5 or 6 different breakout sessions, and that's it. But there was like 30 that happened. So this is my opportunity to see maybe something else came out that actually now that's actually more important than anything I contributed to. That's, I want to vote there. So that's that opportunity. The other one is, maybe, it's a girl that she likes to go around to different types of things and give little bits of value in all these different areas. That's great. And now she can go back and say, like, where did the conversation go after I left? Maybe it actually became bigger than I thought. Like, I only spent 10 minutes there and it didn't really seem that great, so I went somewhere else. But now that I come back, wow, that conversation went to great places and I want to vote for that one. So it's really that opportunity to see everything that was talked about. And usually what we'll do is, if you've done this documentation in a template similar to like this, you literally tape them around the wall, just like this example, and everybody votes. So where does it go with the voting? Now, what you want to do is get down to a top number, top 5, top 10, top 2, top 1, whatever that number is. But you're going to have, like, let's just say multiple. So let's say I come up with the top 5, and I've got 5 breakout areas. What those top 5 become is they become the different breakout areas. And now we move on to action planning. So the highest voted ones are put into those breakout areas, and the time is set to develop action planning. So same thing, open concept, 2 feet, go to where you want to go, whichever one resonates. These are the top 5. But your mission now isn't to conceptualize, it's to action plan. I want next steps, measurable goals, challenges, opportunities. Start building it into, like, we're going to get this done and what's it going to look like. How far you go down that rabbit hole is going to depend maybe on how big or complex it is. Maybe you do need to validate or do research, but those are the things you document. We need to talk to Jane in accounting. We need to research these pieces. This is why we need to talk to her. Once we add this information, we're now going to do this. Like, don't just stop because you have to talk to one person. Really go through it. If this, then that. Really plan it out. And then what we do is you present those. Now, you don't present those for any voting or any approval. You just present those to the room. Because if you remember, we're all in this together. And now you're presenting to say, this is our action plan. We're going to do this, 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 and this. And then we're going to come up with that. And so those are presented back to the group. So now everybody's clear on the top ideas and exactly what's going to be happening next. And they're documented. So again, let's talk about what's happened. A self-organizing session took place. The agenda was set by the attendees. Multiple views were discussed, documented, and voted upon. The top ideas are used to create action plans that are presented. At the end of this 1 day or 2 day session, you've completed all these things. You literally have a meeting book of everyone who attended, everything that was discussed, the best ideas or top ideas that were voted upon, action plans that are ready to go. It's a full document. You can actually get it so efficient that if somebody came in from out of town and they were there and spent the time, you could send them a PDF document before they hit the airplane of everything that took place so they have it. Come Monday morning, your teams are ready to go. You have the action plans done. And it does work. It actually, funnily enough, always works, and that's what Harrison Owen says as well. I've never ever been to a conference or a meeting session where it's been so effective and people are so bought in, and you have all this ready to go in a short period of time in a highly effective meeting, and come Monday, you guys are ready to action these things. It's just great. But there is one more thing that you have to do, and that's the closing circle. Again, it's the psychology of what happened. And this is kind of taking the talking stick type example. So again, just as it all began, you start again. So you do a concentric circle, and it doesn't matter what the stick is. It could be something that's fancy. It can be a microphone. It can be a highlighter. It doesn't matter. But the rule basically is whoever has the stick can talk. And it's quite simple. You just say, what was the thing that you learned the most, and what surprised you the most about the conference? And it's a chance to get not only feedback, to get reflection, and just to close. And everybody gets to go around, say what they shared. I think it's great from a lot of perspectives. It reinforces that buy-in. It reinforces the team dynamic. It reinforces everyone as an equal. And it also garners buy-in to do it again. So it's a great experience. And at the very end, you give everybody a round of applause, and the circle breaks up. And the next thing you're ready for is doing action planning going forward. Again, I really do suggest you guys either read Harrison Owen's book, try it out for yourself with a smaller team, see what the experience is like, have somebody facilitate for you and go through it. Or if you have any opportunity to experience in open spaces, either in your town or anywhere that's open to having something that's going on already, please join it, experience it. It honestly is the greatest thing that you'll ever go through in terms of a conference. And it really does set up that ideation piece to move further down the innovation management pipeline into coming up with solid strategies, solid business plans, and really getting things off the ground. So with that, I want to thank you for your time. I know we've come in a little bit under than expected. So if there's anything that you guys want to talk about, feel free to check out our website at businessmodeledge.com, on Twitter as well at BizModEdge. We try to post updates on articles or strategies around the Canvas open spaces. We'll be holding more webinars. And if you want, please feel free to contact me direct. My name is Aaron at businessmodeledge.com is my email. And I'll answer any questions. I love collaborating. I love just sharing ideas and talking about things. And if you need some help with facilitating and open spaces in your company, we're totally willing to do that. So again, thank you for your time, and all the best.